In the last video, I spazzed out and made the video in a super excited frame of mind, and I didn't do a very good job. In this one, I'm going to try to fill in the gaps and try to explain why Kempower is a potential game changer for the EV charging landscape in the United States, because it really is terrific technology, and try to be a little bit more comprehensive in doing so. Okay, let's start off with where I am. For people familiar with the Charlotte metropolitan area, this is exit 88 on the South Carolina side of Interstate 77. It's the first exit past the South Carolina Welcome Center. And this area, for some reason, has a lot of EV charging technology going into it. A little bit further down the road is the Circle K test site with an Alphatronics hypercharger able to dispense 400 kilowatts using a silicon carbide inverter. A little bit further down past that, there is a Scotchman's Travel Plaza that has a Zooster 100, which is a kinetic power booster. Also really cool tech. That is the first Zooster 100 in all of North America that got installed. I have a video which I'll link down below in the description. Really cool tech for that as well. A way of doing a site upgrade without having to pay for an expensive transformer. There is a Tesla supercharger in the opposite direction, not too far, just brand new, recently put in. And Duke Energy also has a site a little bit further down Interstate 77. So for some reason, this area has been targeted for a lot of EV infrastructure build out. Also, the first Kempower satellite that I have seen in North America. Since I published the first video, a couple people chimed in that there's one of these or maybe two of these in Minnesota, I think it is. But this is the first one I have ever laid eyes on. And I know there's one in Canada, a bigger site build out in Canada. But this is the first one that I've seen, and it's brand spanking new. Okay, so let's go over some of the technology that makes this a potential game-changing for the EV charging landscape in the United States. Okay, this is the Kempower charging unit. It's model number C501. Inside this charging unit are power modules. There's 12 of them. Each of them is able to add 50 kilowatts of dispensing power. So if you do the math, that's 600 kilowatts able to be dispensed out of this one unit. However, a site host can elect to add more of these. So you could have 3, 4, however many you want to add. Very similar to the Tesla supercharger approach, and I'll get to that more in a second. Down on the bottom is an additional power module that does the dynamic load balancing for the site. And as you add power modules, they can all be linked together in order to help distribute to the satellite pedestals power. Very similar to the Tesla supercharger. In fact, I recently did a video for a Tesla supercharger version 4, and I mentioned how Brandon Flash calls Tesla superchargers a master class in electric vehicle charging technology. I would agree. This is kind of like the European equivalent, and Europe is further along in electric vehicle adoption. Specifically, Kempower is out of Finland, which is close to the Norway, who has achieved a 95% electric vehicle adoption rate as of 2023. So very high electric vehicle adoption rate in Scandinavia. And these are the backbone of the charging infrastructure in Europe. You'll see these all over the place. As I said, multiple power units, 12 of them, with an additional one down at the bottom, able to provide the dynamic load balancing for the site. To the pedestals, 8 pedestals can be paired to one charging unit. And the unique thing is those pedestals can be up to 80 meters away from this. That is 260 feet away from it. So really what this is designed for is a rip and replace of a gas station's gas pumps, installing the dispensing units instead. And in Scandinavia, that has actually taken place. They're in the process of building gas stations that have Kempower units in the charging stalls, underneath the canopies, at gas stations, at fueling stations, I guess you would call them, with Kempower equipment. So 600 kilowatts in one charging unit. Now let's talk about the dispensers. These are called satellites. And this particular one is a satellite 2X CCS 1/5M. So the cables are 5 meters, and there's 2 CCS handles, obviously. This unit can dispense, each handle, 225 kilowatts. They have a bolt-on add-on module for the satellite where liquid cooling could be added to the unit, after which it can dispense up to 400 kilowatts. Now, with that dispensing rate, the 400 kilowatts is at 800 volts. So it's only 400 kilowatts at 800 volts. So at 400 volts, basically half that. So still pretty significant. That's pretty future-proof. Other hardware providers that could do similar are the ChargePoint Express Plus that Mercedes-Benz is installing at Buc-ee's and Simon Mall property locations. They can do very similar to what the supercharger does, which is load balancing between the pedestals across the entire site. Those power bricks is what ChargePoint Express Plus calls them, can be linked together and similarly dispensed to the dispensers, load balanced across the site. So that seems to be the new standard for modern DC fast charging technology, to be able to link your power modules together and then distribute that to the dispensers throughout the site, load balanced. Kempower does something a little bit closer to what Tesla does. Because they load balance across the site to the dispensers, they do so very intelligently. When cars first plug in, if they're at a low state of charge, they start pulling more kilowatts, and then the charging curve starts to taper off. These units know that because they've been doing charging for a long time, and so they don't just allocate a split power to the dispensers. They do so intelligently. They look at what the car is actually pulling, and then they allocate that amount, and then they'll have the rest of the power, 600 kilowatts, available minus what that car is pulling, and dynamically able to dispense to the different handles on the satellite units. So much more nuance in the Kempower technology. All right, let's go ahead and plug in and get charging. I actually need a little bit of juice. Boy, these cables are heavy. I'll get the specifics on them in just a second. Without those spring-loaded authenticated, preparing to charge. All right, we are charging. Okay, so looking at the app, last time I was here, I didn't see a way of seeing all the cool Kempower information. Let me swing the camera around. Okay, in the comments of my last video, YouTuber Ron B mentioned that what I should have done is scanned a QR code in order to get all the cool Kempower information that I was looking for. The ZephNet app doesn't have it. But right here, this QR code. So I'm going to scan that. All right, so there we go. Let me go ahead and screen record this and put it up picture in picture. Okay, let's see what we could see here. Oh, very cool. That's exactly what I was looking for. This is all the cool charging graphs that are available in Kempower. I did not know that this was here. Thanks, Ron. Much appreciated. Okay, so another thing I'm going to mention, you can see 50 kilowatts, and there's 25 available for the right one. And you can see there's 800 volts and 400 volts, because this has the ability to dispense both. Now, this power unit probably only has one power module in it, which is why it's only doing 50 kilowatts. The transformer over there is 150 kVA. So this site is just not designed in order to output what this hardware is capable for, but it's still very reliable hardware. That's the nice thing. It's flexible. You can scale out as your site increases. Conceivably in 10 years' time, this location might wish to replace some of their gas pumps with Kempower. And so they just add power modules, move some of these dispensers over. As I said, you've got 260 feet of distance between the power module and the satellite. So it's a very flexible system that grows with the site. And so right now they're just starting. They've got 50 kilowatts, but this unit can dispense 225 at 800 volts. As time goes on, they upgrade their transformer. Maybe they get a Zooster 100, so they don't have to upgrade their transformer. So lots of options, very flexible. Europeans love this, and I'm personally very excited that it's here in the United States. Okay, so I just read the cladding on the outside of the cable, and it's a 1,000-volt cable. It says dry on it, so it is not liquid cooled. The liquid cooling module you can get for the Kempower satellite is actually for the dispenser itself. The handles, I thought they were Phoenix, but they are Amphenol handles. But very durable, very heavy. If it wasn't for those spring cable managements, I would think it'd be near impossible to manage those cables, getting them in and out. But with the springs, it zeroes out the weight and makes them pretty easy to get in and out of the car. Okay, so back at home, cleaning up a little additional information. As I mentioned, Ron B. was the YouTuber who pointed out the QR code, which will get you the additional Kempower information. Once you scan that into your phone, you can go get a meal and you can track your car's progress remotely using the Kempower graphs that are available in the mobile app. It's just a little web page, but it works well. A lot of the information I got for this video came from YouTuber Chris Rifa. He is a YouTuber from Norway, and he went to the Kempower headquarters in Finland and recorded a video with one of their engineers. I'm going to link that video down below in the description as well. It's only 9 minutes. Again, he mentions the 80 meters of distance between the satellite and the charging unit. So really designed for rip and replace of gas stations to Kempower electric fueling stations. The smaller footprint satellite dispensers, which are the ones that was seen in the video, can maximum output of 225 kilowatts. They are ambient cooled, and the reason it's 225 is 300 amps. So if you do the math on that, that's 120 kilowatts for 400 volt cars and 240 kilowatts for 800 volt cars. And, there's a little bit of loss, so they call it 225. The satellites with the liquid cooling attachment can dispense at 500 amps. So at 400 volts, that's 200 kilowatts. And at 800 volts, that's 400 kilowatts. So I hope this video helped fill in the gaps left from the last one that was done in haste, of which you have my apologies. I'll link it down below in the description because there's still some good information in that video. But Kempower in the United States, in my opinion, is a game changer because the technology has been perfected by the Scandinavians who use EVs. Just as a matter of course, their adoption rate is 95% in Norway, and I think in Finland they're up to 80% EV adoption. So forecasting things to come, look to see what the Scandinavians did. And this is what they baked up. Very reliable, very flexible, able to scale with terrific cable management, good software. The payment terminals are apparently very reliable. I didn't use it, I used the app. I kind of like using the apps instead. And just a really well thought out DC fast charging solution available to site hosts here in the United States now. They're going to be turning these pieces of equipment out of their Durham factory. I'm going to be contacting them to see if I can get a tour of the factory once it starts being in production. Right now it's not. This unit was made in Finland and shipped over. But eventually they're going to be turning these things out of Durham's factory and installing them around the United States. So hopefully you'll be able to see them soon too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for watching.